We've got all the right in the world on our side. And there ain't no reason to be afraid. And there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on. Because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, there was Americans. Quezon, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sight of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are. That we are Americans. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive people. Not only survive, it will thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready. We got a fight on our hands. And our fight is not for us, for all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays.
Wherever two or more liberals are gathered, you will find sanctimony. And their main feeling, this has always been true, is contempt for you. But there's a new inflection. You may have noticed it recently. The pivot, and it was a pivot, came 6 years ago. In 2016, Democrats stopped making arguments in favor of their own policies, whatever those might be, and instead reoriented the entire party around attacking the very people that historically they had represented. Again, America's middle class. By January of last year, the Democratic Party had more power than at any time since FDR was president. But the telling point, the tip-off, was they didn't seem happy about it. Instead of trying to fix the country, they decided to destroy the country and just start over. Why are you doing that? Why aren't you trying to unite the country? Why don't you win over the people who didn't vote for you? They didn't spend one day doing that. Instead, they moved in the opposite direction at high speed. They all of a sudden declared that trespassing was a felony and threw Trump voters in prison. And they did it for a reason, because they believed their political opponents were criminals. And you know that because they said so. They called them Nazis and white supremacists. You. Why are they demanding that government censor and disarm you? Because they think you're a terrorist. So where's this going? Well, it's going the only place it ever could go. People are going to have to be physically punished. So not surprisingly, that is what they are now calling for. Arrest them! Here's former Fox reporter Carl Cameron on CNN this weekend calling for us, this show, to be sent to prison.
The antitrust bill to take down and deplatform people who lie, there ought to be something done about it. And the administration is beginning to actually make a move on that. If you disturb the peace by starting a riot in a movie theater, cops are going to arrest you and you might end up in jail, or you might end up in something worse.
Maybe wind up in jail, or maybe something worse, quote. Well, what's something worse? Well, we're not sure what something worse is, but it certainly feels like we're moving toward it at very high speed at this point. That's the end point to talk like that, something worse.
The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world. But two conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility. And second, that we collaborate. And this is the reason why you find many opportunities here during the meeting to engage into very action and impact-oriented initiatives to make progress related to specific issues on the global agenda.
Silicon chip inside her head gets switched to overload.
Tragic, horrible events have unfolded in Texas. My initial reaction and response to this is to, of course, try to not show the name and the photo of this deranged, crazy person that committed this horrible action, since, of course, there are multiple psychological and scientific studies out there that show that the media's reporting on these types of events are creating situations that inspire copycat individuals from doing the same thing. This is why maybe there's a possibility the Buffalo incident could be somewhat correlated with this incident, especially with the media coverage that we saw from Buffalo, with the media, again, doing something that they shouldn't be doing. This is why during major sports ball games and major stadium events, when there's a crazy person running on to the field or the court, the television stations have learned not to show those people or give those people attention, because when you do, you spur on copycat individuals to do the same thing. If you're seeing this tragic event and thinking that this is a good time to make yourself less capable of defending yourself, well, I would say you should definitely pick up a history book so you understand what happens when civilian populations are disarmed. We're dealing with a crazy situation. It's only going to get crazier from here.
And you can see no reasons, cause there are no reasons. What reason do you need to be shown?
All the institutions that underreport hate crimes still has white supremacist groups as by far the leading driver of domestic terrorism in the United States. It's like the bar of white supremacist violence is like this, and then it's like all the other categories are like that.
AOC is not very bright, but she's bright enough to know, because she's surrounded by people smarter than her, that she's lying. Here's a Washington Post article from just the other day. Megan McArdle went and looked at the actual data. Some of these cases they use in this reporting are prison gang members engaging in pedestrian criminal violence, white supremacists killing their wives, people with mental illness acting on elaborate delusions that sometimes include references to right-wing conspiracy theories, people embroiled in criminal trials or child custody disputes who become enamored of sovereign citizen theories. I'm not cherry-picking a few ambiguous outliers, McArdle says. I'm arguably describing the majority of the incidents in the Anti-Defamation League's 2021 report.
I wanna shoot. The whole day down.
Again, we need to talk about this absurd notion that mass shootings only happen in the United States. One of the most thorough studies on global mass public shootings was published just a couple of years back by John R. Lott Jr. The study defines mass public shootings in accordance with the FBI's standard definition: 4 or more victims slain in one event in one location, and the offender is not included in the victim count. The study determined that between the years 1998 and 2015, there was a grand total of just over 2,400 mass public shootings around the world. Of those 2,400 shootings, 53 occurred in the United States. 53. That means the U.S. accounts for no more than 2.2% of the world's mass public shootings. In terms of death count, over 26,000 people were killed across the globe in those 2,400 plus mass public shootings. The United States death count totaled 394. That's 1.5% of all deaths from mass public shootings around the world.
And now the playing stopped in the playground now. She wants to play with the toys of war.
Well, I gotta tell you, I hope everybody knows that you can't own a gun in Paris, France, but they use Kalashnikov machine guns to hose down innocent victims at a rock and roll concert. Tell me somebody knows that. Not to mention the tractor trailer that plowed through destroyed innocent lives in Miami. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, somebody decided to do a racist attack and used an SUV. Are you kidding me? Who thinks it's a hardware issue? Who thinks it's a freedom issue? It's a demonic issue where we look the other way because of the cult of denial of political correctness. We see threats against schools. We see clear statements that they're going to shoot people, and we do nothing. It's time to abandon political correctness and start reacting to the world around us. That's why they consider me a radical. I'm a radical because I'm a good dad, a good father, a good grandfather, an entrepreneur in the asset column of America.
Tell me why I don't like money. Tell me why I don't like money. Tell me why I don't like. Tell me why I don't like money. Tell me why I don't like. Tell me why I don't like money. Tell me why I don't like money.